Okay, let's see if we can get this to work again. I've got some new stuff. Okay, here we go. So, hi everybody. Here I am again. Obviously, you can see it is a different layout. This is what my very messy desk looks like. It's messy for good reason. So, basically, what's going on today is for my birthday, received a rope maker. So, I've been playing with it a little bit, and I just want to give you sort of a breakdown on how this rope maker works. This is the Schacht rope maker, and I received it for my birthday. And I literally just took it out of the box because I haven't been able to work with it with all the rest of the stuff I'm doing because I love to have a lot of projects. So, I tried it yesterday for the first time, and here is some rope I made. You're probably going like, wait, what? This looks like some stuff that you already do by hand. Well, I'll show you how I did this, but I want to show you the rope maker and then what I do to make stuff like that. I don't know how well you can see that in camera, but I can show a close up later. Also, it is the same as the picture. Let's see. This thing is always telling me my chat doesn't work, but it's the same as the picture that is the thumbnail picture for this particular video. So let's see here. Sign into chat. Maybe? Yes, no? And if I can get this to work, then we'll get started. I don't know. There go my dogs. Anywho, so yeah, if I see I have one viewer, but so far, so I don't know whether the chat's actually working. It seems to always want to tell me sign into chat, top chat. What's happening? Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll find out. I'll just leave it for now. Anywho, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started and give you sort of a little breakdown of how this works. So the Schacht rope maker is so fancy. Here we go. The Schacht rope maker comes with two main pieces. So you'll see a piece down here. This piece that looks like a V is attached to my desk with a clamp. So this piece comes already pre-assembled. And then the next piece, let's see if this works, is right here. I have it in a vise. That's my kid's vise for jewelry making. But is this paddle that has 3 different hooks on it. And this piece comes it comes in pieces, so you do have to put it together. Basically what it is, if I can show you real quick, is a paddle that has these hooks. They're plastic with little O-rings to attach them right here, and another piece of wood that is the crank. Okay, so I can't believe that worked. Holy crap. All right. I'm very happy about that because that means I'll be able to show you like up close. So basically what I've done is I have 2 scrap bits of yarn in roughly the same color. This is like a cream and this is a cream color that's got like little black flecks in it. If this looks familiar, this is the yarn right here that I used for my eyeball shawl. So this is what I had left over. And the cool thing about this rope maker, I don't think a lot of people, or I haven't seen a lot of people with this particular rope maker. The cool thing about it is that if you have a lot of scraps and let's say you don't feel like just running a short, I don't know, how long's this desk? Like maybe 3+ feet length through your wheel, let's say, because I've got my Hanson mini spinner back here. You can see my Coke Zero. So this will help you with spinning together like a chunky short length of yarn, or in the case of rope, you could use string, you could use twine, you could do a combination of yarn. Let's see, some of the things I have here. I have silk ribbon, recycled silk. I have just a regular satin ribbon here. This is literally all just fabric scraps of all types. I also have DMC embroidery floss in like iridescent color, and I've got pearl cotton. I have sewing thread. I have embroidery floss, all here in front of me, which is why my desk is such a mess. It was clean this morning. So you can use all of these in this particular thing that I'm going to show you right now. So to get started, I'm going to hold these together, both of these yarns, and I'm going to tie them around the hook that's closest to me, and I'm going to just double knot it because I really don't care. Okay, this is where this one might come in handy. Let's see if this works. Okay, so I've just double knotted it right here on this hook. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go all the way across here, and I'm going to go from, let's see, was it outside, inside? We'll go outside, inside. No, we'll go inside, outside. I'll do outside, inside. So I'm going to go around the outside to the inside. Bring it back. Hi. And then I'm going to bring it here, and I'm going to go around my second hook. Oops, I accidentally grabbed some fabric there. Whoopsies. We'll just drop that. Everything wants to stick to each other. Okay, and I'm not going to pull it like terribly taut. Like, I'm not real concerned because I'm going to be wrapping this rope, but if you're using something like string, you can hold it taut. You'll be fine. So this is what I'm doing. I'm going to go around the middle one. Let me put this down for a second. I only have so many hands. And I don't have a little thing for my phone. So this should be real interesting. All right. So I grabbed a bunch of extra thread. I was going through this. Whoopsies. I'm just going to get all tangled up. It's the story of my life. Okay. So then I'm going to come back, and I'm going to go back around from the inside to the outside of my V. Okay. So this is the first round, around the outside to the inside. Then I'm going to go around the second hook here, come back around the second from the inside to the outside. Then I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to hook around my third hook. Okay. I'll show you a picture of that in just a second, but I'm going to do this first. And then what I'm going to do, once I have it on the third hook, I'm going to go back over to my V. I'm going to go around the outside of the second part and the outside of the first part. And then back to the beginning. Let me cut my yarn. And I am going to tie it off. So hold on just a second, and I can show you with my phone what this looks like. All right. Handy dandy phone time. All right. So that's what it looks like. I started off here, tied it, went around the first peg, down at the end, from the outside to the inside. Then I went around back to the second peg, from the inside to the outside. Then I went around the third hook, and then I went outside both points of the V, and then I started back here and tied it off. So this is where both my little ties are. Okay. All right. So with that being said, actually I could probably keep this on because this might be helpful. Then what you start doing, now that it's all set up, that's all you have to do. Here is my handle, and I'm going to rotate it clockwise. And hopefully not knock my camera off the thing. We'll see how it goes. So I'm going to twist. Now, in like the descriptions online, ooh, that sounds good. You're holding it not on the vise, okay? I'm holding it on the vise here for my own benefit, but when I feel like it's starting to get tight, like you feel like, okay, it's really winding these pretty tight. It went from being fairly loose to pretty tight. What I'm gonna do now, hopefully I'll be able to get this in camera, is I'm gonna undo the vise and I'm gonna grab the handle of this very carefully without hitting my camera. And then I'm gonna go down to this end, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull these loops off the end. Let's see here. Can I get it through here? And I should be able to put this down and then let these twist on themselves. Okay. So while I do this real quickly, I'm now going to switch to my camera again. See you guys, like this is wild. Okay. So here is the end. And there is my rope. See how it's twisted? So like, let's say, I wonder if I can turn this on its side, if that would work. Maybe. Ooh. Let me get my gummy bears pop socket. Oh, maybe not. Okay, let's maybe try that. Will that work? No. That's fine. Okay, so I'm going to do this, and then if I feel as though once I'm, pulling it down, let's say maybe it doesn't feel like it's twisted as much as it could be, I could always give the handle an additional twist and make it tighter. For the purposes for what I'm using it for, it shouldn't be an issue, and I'll show you why in a minute. So while I do that, so many I need multicam, guys. What the hell? Okay, so I'm gonna do some more of this. And not only will you feel like it's getting like taut. Really, Stacy? We don't care. Okay. You'll also see that it's getting kinked up on itself. That's a good sign. That means that you're putting enough twist in it. Anybody who's a spinner out there is going to be able to see that, it's the same, basically the same principle. Like, oh, hey, I'm a spinner. I get this. Like, you're putting kink in it. You're basically making what is going to be, let's see if I can pull this off here. So I'm popping them off the hooks. What I'm making here, oh, it's really kinky here at the end. What I'm making here is then this extra plied yarn. So what would that be? The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ply of, this length of yarn. Now I do have kinks in it. It's not perfection, especially down here at the end, because then I was kind of more paying attention to my camera than anything else. But with that being said, I can always try to do something with that. It's not going to really matter much and you'll see why in just a moment. So I'm going to take this big handle. I'm going to stick it back in my vise because now I'm going to need something to hold this in place, and I'm going to need a hook down on this end. Okay. Now, like I said, oh, you know, some of this is really weird and kinky, or I got like, you can't, I don't know if you can really tell, but I've got like some green thread that I just got stuck in here. For the purposes that I'm using this for, it's really not going to matter at all. And I mean, for the most part, that looks pretty good. Also, another thing for you spinners out there, I'm not soaking this. I'm not doing any of that nonsense. Because it's like, oh, hey, why are you doing this the way you're doing it? All right, well, sure. For anybody who knows me or has been to guild with me, oh, I just pulled that kink out. I still have one there, but it doesn't matter. Okay. Anybody who's been to guild with me will understand. I have made in the past like lanyard holders for myself. They look like this. Lanyards for my masks. And basically the way I had done this one, the core is silk thread. And then it is wrapped. So anybody who's ever had their hair wrapped, like if you go on vacation and you go to those places where they wrap your hair in different colors of embroidery floss or whatever, that's exactly what we're going to do with this. So like I said, doesn't matter if there's kinks in it or not, because for the purpose for this particular demonstration, the kinks actually will give it a little bit of life, make it interesting. Some lumpy bumpies to stick in there. Okay. So here's what I was able to do. So one of the things that I had looked at when I was looking at rope makers, and at some point I'd like to eventually own one, is a Saori loom. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Please don't come at me if I didn't pronounce it right. And they have a thing where you can actually like basically spin big bulky yarn on there for making texture while weaving on those particular looms. They come from Japan. The people who weave on them are not so much I don't want to say they're not technical weavers, because they are, but the woven fabric that is coming from those particular looms are very textured. So you're going to have very fine yarn sitting next to very thick yarn. So at some point, hopefully I'll own one of those. But in the meantime, you know, in this economy, I'm doing this down here. So basically what I've done is I've set up so I can hold this shorter piece of rope. Now, when you're making rope with this rope maker and you're twisting it, it's going to make the actual length shorter, obviously, because of the twist that's being added to the yarn or the twine or whatever it is that you're twisting. It's going to make it shorter by, I don't know, like 10-15% maybe. So what I've done is I took some twine. This is the fine cotton twine that I use for my warping for weaving tapestry. So if that gives you, it's like cotton seine twine. And I attached a hook that you would probably use for probably for a lanyard, and it swivels. Okay, so the twister that comes on the Saori loom, it has like a hook on the front that swivels, and that's what allows you to get your twist in there. It operates differently than this. So for this particular thing, I'm just going to attach this and then I'm going to hand wrap this stuff right here. I'm not sure how well it works for actually winding. If I wanted to like do an auto wrap, let's say for any of you spinners out there, if I wanted to do an auto wrap, it's probably quicker for me to put it on the end of a drill, or perhaps attach, if you have something like this. Like I own a Hanson mini spinner, which is an electric spinner. That's this little guy right here. I have a spindle attachment that goes on it. If I were able to extend this past the end of my table, I could add the spindle attachment to my Hanson mini spinner and spin the hell out of this to do an auto wrap. For this, I'm just going to do it by hand. So I can show you that in just a minute. All right. So we have our base of this thick rope that's made with wool and nylon sock yarn. It's not perfect, doesn't have to be. We just want the thickness for this particular endeavor. And also too, of course, I didn't put all the loops on the end, which is probably why it's acting all stupid. Okay, so here we go. We've got this. Where do I want to start? Well, the cool thing about wrapping things is that it really doesn't matter what you do. Like, I don't know how many people would actually say that to you. Like, oh, hey, I don't care what you do. Just do it. All right, so I have my fabric shears here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a length of this silk ribbon that I have right here in this cream color, okay? And what I can do is I can go to any particular part of, I'm just going to throw all this over here. Let's look at the trash pile, guys. Okay. Any particular part of this rope. So let's say I want to start down here. What I might end up doing, just for the sake of shits and giggles, guys, is I'm going to tie this in a knot. Why not? Just in one knot. It doesn't really matter because you're going to be covering it up partially later. And I'm going to then take the end of this piece of ribbon and I'm going to like fold it back this way, the direction I'm going to wrap it. And then I'm going to do this and I'm going to work my way down to however far it goes, and then I'm going to tie another knot. And I don't have to cover it completely. It's literally me just wrapping it around this thing. And the thing is with this, because I have twist in it and because I'm not really doing anything else to this, it might, like the outside of it might unravel a little bit and not look like it's flush with the rope. That's fine. Because what you want to do is get like ultimate texture, right? So now I've got wool and I have silk ribbon and here's the end of it. And I'm gonna, sorry, my hands are like so beat up. I have been gardening for the past week and pulling rocks out of my garden. So there's that. And see, it just untwisted a little bit and it's a little bit looser, but it looks cool. Okay. So now, what would I like to do next? I think we could do some fabric. So this will be fun. Okay, so for this particular part, let's say I want to cover up this bit right here. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just place my fabric over the end of this. Now, because I have this particular contraption now holding the rope that I made, I can clip this in place. And that way, at least it's holding the end of my fabric. And this I'll wrap around so it's got coverage here. But oh no, I've gotten to the end and it's not adhered. I'll show you how we're going to do that in just a second. See if I have another little clippy-doo here. If not, it's no big deal. So all my little clips disappeared when I cleaned. That's funny. Okay, well, I'm going to hold it because that's what I'm doing. All right, and now I'm going to take some DMC floss. Like, literally, you can do anything. Like, there's no pre-planning here. I am just going to go with the flow. All right, so this is the part, the floss. Oh, a close-up with the ribbon. I'll do that in just a second because I'm holding this. Okay, so here's my floss, okay? And what I do with the floss is I make a loop. And I'm going to lay that loop inside of my palm so that the end is right here. Okay? So it's going into my hands, and then there's a loop right here, and then it's coming back out this way. And then here is the long piece of this particular embroidery floss. Okay? So I'm going to take the long piece, and I'm going to start wrapping it in the direction of the loop around this. And as you wrap it, you'll see that now what it's doing is holding that fabric in place. And I'll show you a close-up of this too in just a minute. So I wrapped the fabric in. I'm now wrapping all around it. Think about wrapping a roast. Maybe. Like, don't you have to wrap a roast with, like, twine or something? Anywho, I'm not a cook. What do I know? All right. So then, and I can go back over it if I want to, just as long as I have a length of embroidery floss right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the end of this embroidery floss and I'm going to put it through that loop. So there you see, there's my embroidery floss, and here's my loop. And if I want to get super fancy with this, welcome to the handheld version. There's my loop, and my embroidery floss is through here. Okay? And you can see I've wrapped from this end all the way around, so it's holding the fabric to the rope. Okay? All right. So then what you do, because this end is also still sticking out, the one that's on this end here, I'm going to take this end and I'm going to pull it so that that loop then starts getting pulled inside the part that I already wrapped. And now I've pulled this little end here inside. Now I can cut it. Now, of course, I didn't go all the way to the end, but I can wrap that again in a second. So, and I've got this end here, which I can then cut if I choose to, or I can extend it out this way and tie it. Do what you like. It's your project. So, okay, close up of the silk ribbon. I don't know if you can see that there, but it's like, here's the rope, here's the ribbon. So it's just very loosely wrapped around there. But what we're going to do is we're going to cover it in layers and layers of string and floss, just like I just did over here. So now you can see this whole portion of that is now, and it's going to get kinky and it's going to get really rigid. So that whole part is now fastened down. So your fabric's stuck on there now because you've basically just sewn and wrapped it down. So, okay. So I've got that. And you can use any kind of colors you want. So let's do, here, I'll do some of this. This is pearl cotton that's got a little bit of iridescence in it. I'm sure, like, Stacy, okay, so what the hell are you doing this for? What is the point? What is the point? The point is you could do a lot of stuff with this fun, kinky rope. It is a lot of fun. Like I said, I used it to make lanyards for masks. I've also made bracelets out of it. And the cool thing is, especially if you're a spinner, you're like, oh, why do I need a rope maker? You don't necessarily need a rope maker. Let's say you spin some stupid crazy amount of like fat yarn, right? You're going to want to make sure the yarn's pretty sturdy. You're probably not going to take like a massive art yarn with all the like fluffs and stuff that you don't want to touch because you don't want to, aggravate what you're doing, right? But if you had like a thick, sturdier yarn, maybe something that's got a little nylon in it or something that's going to hold together and not just like come apart, you could do this on that. I've done it on actual rope. Here's some thick cotton rope that I've wrapped on top of. And basically what I did with the rope is I just wrapped it in fabric and then wrapped that in embroidery floss or thread or I don't know, maybe some very fine hand spun yarn. Maybe it doesn't even have to be fine hand spun yarn. Like, I don't know, if it's smooth, you can do what I'm doing with the embroidery floss. If it's smooth and strong enough, let's put it that way. So in general, the rule of thumb that I've been using is that if I'm going to do this kind of wrapping, like you would do for hair wrapping or whatever, you would want to use something that's going to be sturdy and smooth, because in the end, you have to then put the end of your string through that loop and be able to try to pull it through. Now, I've done it a million times and I've screwed it up a million times. It's fantastic. But there have been lots of times where I've stuck it in the end and I pull it through and then next thing I know, pop, I've broken the string and I still have a loop on the end. Okay, I'm just going to tie a knot with a different string on top of it and do it again. Or I'm going to clip it down and wrap around the top of it. There really is no wrong way to do this. At the end of the day, what I would say is if you're going to be doing this for something like a lanyard, then yeah, maybe you should make it with something that's a little bit more sturdy or something. Oh, see, I did it too tight. There we go. Oh, see, I broke it. Whatever. Doesn't matter. How far did I get in? Oh, just a smidge. That's fine. You know what? I'm just going to tie a knot right here. Live and let live. There we go. See, look at. You could do macrame on top of it. Looks like that's what I'm doing now. If it's going to be a lanyard, you want it to have a core that's not super duper stiff because you have to wear it around your neck. Which is why what I did was I just made the inside core of my lanyards just a silk ribbon and then lightly wrapped around them. But I wrapped around them in such a way that it's sturdy, but I can still move it around, right? It's got a little bit of give. It's not like it's not totally, you know, falling over or whatever. It does have some strength to it. But also too, I did make one for my son and he was able to get it to fall apart in minutes, because he's a good tester for like certain techniques and stuff, because if anybody's going to break it, it's going to be my son. He is very heavy-handed like I am, so you know, usually that's what happens. So you can see it's kind of like kinky, and you start getting texture in there, and it looks really cool. It's a lot of fun, and I can show you a close up. And so the point is to just keep doing it over and over and over and over again until you have layers upon layers upon layers. Now, for some of these, if you want some of the inside rope to show up, that's cool too. Like, but for the purpose that I'm using this for, I'm probably going to make it a bit sturdier, and I'll explain why in a second. So, let me show you this example first. So this was the one that I made yesterday. And I already curled it up to take a photo of it so you can see it's really curly. It's like, look at that. It's like Inception. Ooh. So yeah, so it's curly. It's sturdy. And at the end of the day, my plan is to make this into a wall hanging. So what I'll be doing is I'll be coiling it. There's an extra thread. I'll be coiling it and then sewing it with sewing thread so it stays coiled. Okay. And that it's attached to itself. So think of it kind of like if you're doing rug making and how they do the sewn together rug making. That's how this is going to happen. So I'll just sew the back of it together. You can make baskets out of this. You can just sew them together. Like, it's really kind of fantastic. At the end of the day, though, this one was just, I'm going to end up using it for this test of this project that I want to do. I'm going to make a wall hanging. And before I do start sewing it together, what I will end up doing is I'll probably cover it in more thread. Because like this one I used, gosh, I don't even know if you can tell from this. You might see like a little flash here and there. It is like tulle ribbon that I wrapped around the cord. The cord in the center is just black yarn. And it was just one layer of black sock yarn. And so I wrapped this in tulle ribbon and then put some embroidery floss on top. I've got some of my metallic embroidery, metallic DMC on top of that. This particular section I loosely wrapped in blue silk ribbon, and then wrapped different colors on top of it. So you can see, I actually have a loose thread here that I will probably cover anyway, but I've got some of the silky embroidery floss here in this electric blue. You can see here where the ribbon was attached to another end of ribbon because it had reached the end, and that's where the seam was where they sewed them together. So that's got a like big right there. You can see the red thread that they used to sew it together. And the cool thing is this recycled sari silk, sometimes you get like little metallic bits in it, which is fun. This is like a very fine textured yarn that I received in like a gray sampler, that I've used for some other things. Yeah, and then just different types of like just plain old embroidery floss. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'll cover this in more layers. Obviously I took it off so I could go ahead and use this right now, but you can easily do it by hand too. So let's say you don't have something like this. You have just a big thick of yarn, or you have um, some rope itself, and you want to wrap it in certain things. You can easily do it by hand. It is not hard at all. I will show you. Let me get some blue. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I could get something like light and do like a thinner one here. Maybe this one will be. It's kind of like wild, but we'll see. So I'm gonna take embroidery floss. I don't know, good rule of thumb, do about your forearm length. That's usually how you do it for embroidery anyway. And this is really like striking difference in the colors that I've been using, because I'm going more for like the same color, just a different texture. So I'm gonna actually take and separate my embroidery floss just like you do for embroidering. Okay, so let me give it some love, and here we go. Okay, gonna move closer here. So here's my bit. I'm gonna cover this part right here where this knot is, where I've got this piece of yarn hanging off. So what I'm gonna do is I have the little loop at the end here. I'm gonna lay that right on top of this electric blue, but I want to do it because I'm covering up like this bit here of yarn. I actually might flip that the opposite direction there. Like, since I'm covering up that bit of yarn, I want to make sure that I'm starting on the opposite side of it. So here's where I would be pulling my loop. So that's the short end. Here's the long end. I'm just gonna take it and I'm gonna do it by hand. Wrap it around, and you can just do it by holding one side of it. You know, obviously you want to make sure that you're keeping your loop back here, and sometimes what I'll end up doing is, so I don't lose this loop, I might just stick my pinky in it, or stick it around a finger, so that I know when I'm getting to the end, like I'll start to feel it tighten up on my finger. And then now when I did my lanyards, I actually did it this way. So I had just, you know, my handy dandy rope, and wrapped it in fabric and wrapped it in this. And sometimes I might even just sew fabric on top of it. Okay, so there's my loop. And I'm taking that tiny end and I'm sticking it through. And I'm going to hold on to that, and then I'm going to pull this end down here so that that loop gets smaller and smaller until it goes around that thread, and then I can pull it underneath the wraps. So there you go. You don't want to pull it so hard that you pull it all the way through, just so you know. You just want to make it so that that loop is taking that end of the thread and bringing it into the wraps. And so there you go. And I can cut this off, or I can continue wrapping down here like this and just tie a knot in it and cover it with another color of embroidery thread. Like, you really can't go wrong with it. And it doesn't matter if you've got bits that are sticking out like little fringes or what have you. Sometimes that's actually kind of fun. Another option too is, you can see that I had done that gray right here. And so what I can do is, if I have enough floss on the end here, and if you have a needle nearby, what you can do is stick the end in there, and then go through the wraps of a different, thing. So there you go. I just took it through like 4 wraps of that gray, and then if I want to cut it off, I can. Like, at the end of the day, this particular piece of rope that I'm making is not something I'm going to wear around my neck a lot. So if you are making your own mask lanyard or something to that effect, I would use softer things. Use your silks, use your embroidery flosses. Maybe don't use the stuff like a ton of metallic, because sometimes the metallic flosses can be kind of scratchy. Um, you know, sometimes we have to pay for that metallic bit. If you have, let's say you have an iridescent tulle and you have a piece of that, you could wrap it around and then cover it with some embroidery floss. And because your embroidery floss is not obviously, like, you're not going for perfection, right? So maybe you get a lot of coverage in some places and you have just a little coverage in some other places. You can make whatever is hiding underneath it as exposed or not exposed as you want it to. So if I were to wrap this in this tulle, maybe then I would use some embroidery floss that sits more like this light stuff that I did, that's kind of open and sort of wrapped around, not as tight as this electric blue that I did right underneath it. So that's what I'm doing with this. And then, like I said, this particular rope that I'm making is, I got fuzz on me. This particular rope that I'm making is going to be for wall hanging, but you can make lanyards, you can make bracelets, you can make necklaces, you can make any kind of jewelry. Anything that you would, you could put it in a weaving. You could do anything with it. It is a lot of fun. You can do a lot of fun stuff with it. It's kind of neat to layer your colors and see, like with this lanyard, I just have like cheap little plastic hooks on it or whatever, but you can see where I layered up some of my threads and my fabrics. So I've got like a big bulge right here, and then it goes to like very fine and thin. It really is up to you. I would say that it depends on your core. This particular core is silk ribbon, so I was able to twist it tight enough to make it, and it's still pliable, but because that silk ribbon just kind of like compacted, I can make it very fine and thin if I choose it to be, or I can do a big blob of embroidery thread or tie a knot underneath. That's another thing too. Like this right here, this particular bit, this blob, is actually a very, very short piece of ribbon that's in a knot that I just covered with embroidery floss. So, and it's cool because you'll get like little bits that stick out, and it gives you kind of like a really interesting textural type situation. Here I can see the fabric in this. So yeah, like I said, you can make necklaces, bracelets, lanyards, wall hangings like I'm gonna do. You can incorporate it in your weaving, and use it as a decorative element. So that's basically it. I'm going to continue working on this, but I'm going to be doing some bouncing around of different crafts in the coming weeks. So I'm going to work on this, and then next week I'm either going to be doing some of the sewing, or I can show you how I'm putting together my wall hanging if I can get all the elements done ahead of time. If not, then what I'm going to do is do some micro weaving with some of my my very fine weight hand spun yarn, and show you how to do some micro weaving for jewelry, which is super easy. But if you have any ideas or anything you'd like me to discuss or show examples of in the future, please let me know. and because I'm really kind of having a lot of fun in trying different things and coming up with different art projects to do.